Hi, Cynthia. Can you tell me your full name and what you do at SAS?
My name is Cynthia Zender, and I'm an instructor and course developer for SAS. And I mostly concentrate on the report writing and the output delivery system and the SAS Graph curriculum. And I both write courses and I teach courses, and then I sort of investigate new features of the software as it comes down the road from the developers in order to figure out where it fits into our courses. But I'm here today at MWSUG to really talk about the output delivery system.
For the ODS in your training, what are some of the new features that you're teaching the users when they use ODS?
Well, I think we sort of split it into two things. What's new with ODS, like what's new with ODS for tabular reports. One of the really cool new things is that you can use cascading style sheets to have an impact on PDF, RTF, and HTML files. So that's pretty cool. But then the other totally new thing that is totally wonderful is the fact that style templates now have an impact on classic SAS graph procedures, and for statistical graphics, you can use the ODS graphics on and off sandwich around your stat procedure to get like automatic graphs created using the SAS style templates. So totally cool.
Is that all done through proc template, or how do you edit and change the style sheets?
Well, two things happen. The classic SAS graph, all your output uses the style templates and it goes to a GRSeg catalog. And for SAS statistical graphics, then graph templates are used in conjunction with the style templates. So you could change the style template to have an impact on the graphs. You could change the CSS, but most people find that there's a style template that they like, and they don't really have to dig into changing the style to have an impact. So if you're doing something for publication, you could just use the journal style, and you get a grayscale graphs, you know, ready for sending to your publisher.
So you suggest just finding the right style sheet to use rather than editing and changing things?
I really do. I think it's pretty easy to just change, you know, just find a style template that you like, and if you go, oh, well, you know, I don't like this color of green, let me find a different color of green, then making that change, because the other thing that happened is one of the new things is that the developers changed the way style templates work, and so style templates, syntax has gotten enormously simplified, so that if you want to change just one element, you could say class GData 12, and you could change the 12th color in the list by saying, you know, this is the color I want to have used for the 12th bar, right? Or,
that's great.
I mean, so with just like 2 or 3 statements.
Yeah, so it's much easier.
Very much easier than the older syntax for style templates. And then the graph template would use that automatically.
Great. Now, the ODS that you use for tabular text type reports versus the SAS graph, are they totally different, or can they use similar syntax?
They use absolutely similar syntax. The style template syntax, what you're pointing to is the piece that you want to change, right? So in one style template, the header element points to the header cells in the tabular output, and like the GData1 points to the first color for grouped V-bars, for example, right? So the first color for the first bar, if you're grouping it, is GData1 color. So, you know, just 2 different style elements in the same style template.
Great. What, do you concentrate more on the ODS aspect or on other things such as stored processes, or because you've written about that?
I have done several papers on stored processes, and it's funny because I tend to go in cycles. You know, when 9.2 came out, I sort of concentrated all my attention on revising the report course and working with other folks to revise the graph course and to help write a course for the stat curriculum on statistical graphics with ODS. And then now that 9.2 Phase 3 is coming out and there are changes to the platform, I'm going to work on a revision to the stored process class, and then, you know, hopefully the changes to ODS and the changes to the platform won't ever happen at the same time. Right. So, you know, won't have to clone myself to work on 2 classes at the same time.
You've actually put some of the material within the book as well. Is that right?
I was lucky enough to be able to work with Lauren Hayworth and Michelle Burlew on a course. Lauren wrote the first version of a book called ODS The Basics, and she wrote about 300 pages. And I was going to write a book on table templates, and I asked Lauren if that would be okay with her because I didn't want to step on her toes. And she said, well, she had gotten promoted and she was going to get married, and would I like to co-author the second edition of the book with her? So I wrote about 300 more pages, and then we decided that since it had gotten sort of exploded, it would just get a different title. And so then we brought Michelle Burlew on because it's just a lot of stuff to go through and make Lauren's style and my style come out the same. And Michelle has sort of a different standpoint about, you know, programs and examples, and so the three of us actually work together quite nicely, and so we have co-authored the 600-page ODS The Basics and Beyond.
Were you thinking of also in the future writing about statistical graphics as a separate book?
I think there are two audiences for graphics in what I see. So I see like the beginning person who's maybe not statistically oriented, still needing to do V-bars, still needing to do series, and still needing to produce paneled graphs. Like you have gender and a V-bar for one gender, and then next to that a V-bar for another gender. And even if you're not a statistical analyst, there's still room in the new graphics for the non-statistical person to be able to generate some really nice graphs. So, you know, I sort of think there's room for that as well as room for the heavily statistical graphs. You know, so I think there's maybe a topic, or maybe it's just a paper, who knows, on ODS graphics for the non-stat person, you know, because you can still use all those powerful features to turn out some pretty cool graphics.
The content that you work on for the curriculum, is it, some of them goes to that book that we talked about, but does it go into the instructor-based training, or does it also go into the self-paced web training?
We actually have three forms of training. We have instructor-based training, we have live web training, and we have self-paced e-learning. And in earlier versions of SAS, the instructor-based training and live web training was slightly different from the self-paced e-learning. But now with SAS 9.2, we're working to make sure that the same content is in all three types of media, for example. So we will use the same content for instructor-based training and live web training, and then the self-paced e-learning people, they need the content to be in smaller chunks. So they'll actually take our content that we use from the classes, but it will be the same content going forward, and then they'll put it into the small chunks they need for their little self-paced e-learning blocks. So in earlier versions of SAS that wasn't true. Self-paced e-learning was sort of separate, and instructor-based and live web, they were slightly different, same topics but treated differently, and now going forward they're all going to be the same, just different venues, and whether you have an instructor available. Because self-paced e-learning, you don't have the instructor attention, but in the other two forms of training you do.
How closely is the training material, the curriculum that you put together, related to the development? For example, if SAS were to be working on 9.3, are you beginning to work on the training of that, or are you still in 9.2?
No, we're still firmly in 9.2. They're always ahead of us. It's funny because I'll be working on 9.2 stuff, and the developers will go, "Oh, wait until 9.3 comes along. This is totally wonderful." And it's like, guys, we can't put 9.3 in a course yet. You know, we're still doing 9.2. But they get all excited, and then I get all excited. So I know a lot of what's coming, but of course people don't have 9.3 yet. So the courses have to be the software that's available now. And so
that's great. Well, thanks a lot.
Sure. Thank you.